This time we are back on the hunt in a selection of charity shops, and our biggest find of the day comes from the most unlikely of places.
Pick us! Do the games room! Rush trips! Live game hunting!
Hello again, folks, and welcome back to another live game hunting episode. And today we're hitting up a selection of charity shops. But is it just me, or is there a direct link between the car boots returning and charity shop finds becoming more sporadic? I just think at the end of the day, more people decide to sell at the car boots rather than donate to charity shops over the summer period. But fear not, we still have some amazing finds this time, some of which in the most unlikely of places. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week, and I really want you folks along for the ride. And if you really want to go above and beyond to support the channel, please consider becoming a follower over on Patreon. You get behind the scenes clips, videos, game deals, and even more amazing charity shop finds. Now, let's head out on the hunt. We're starting our charity shop hunt this time in the small market town of Wymondham, and straight away I found some PSP games. Now, I was very lucky to build a majority of my PSP collection a couple of years ago when these were super cheap. Now, you don't see these very often in the charity shop, but thankfully I did already have these games in my collection. But let me know in the comments down below if you collect for the PSP. A couple of years ago, these were a very common sight in charity shops, DVD VCRs. Now, you don't see these very often these days, and I do want to add one to my collection eventually, but I think I'm holding out for a Sony one just because I prefer them as a brand, and I think it's going to have a better picture quality. At the moment, I'm not collecting VHS, but in the future, who knows? But this is something you see all the time in charity shops, these kind of shovelware games, especially for the Nintendo DS, just because that console is absolutely rammed with shovelware. 95% of the time I will just leave these on the shelf because most of the time these games are just terrible. Like, who in 2024 is picking up Club Penguin for the Nintendo DS? Even at £2, I think I'll leave that one behind. But with some of these, they can have surprising value, so it's always worth checking. But unfortunately, not this time. Another common sight in every charity shop is Wii shovelware. You have to remember, Nintendo sold over 100 million Wii consoles and about 100 million copies of Wii Fit Plus. I defy you to find any charity shop around the UK which doesn't have at least one copy of Wii U. It's where that game goes to die. In this digital age we live in, not a lot of people still buy DVDs, but if there's a movie I want to watch, this is normally how I will pick them up, unless they're on streaming sites. I have since found out that this film is on Amazon Prime TV, so if you want to relive this classic, check it out there. Now, this was something I wasn't expecting to find in my local charity shop. Halo the Master Chief Collection for the Xbox One, the Steelbook version. Now, this was priced at $8.99, but I did pick it up because it's still a really good price. And at the end of the day, I don't mind paying up for some things I find in the charity shops because that is a fairly rare Steelbook. But let me know, would you have picked up this Xbox One console for £25? Comment below. Again, here is something I wasn't expecting to see in a charity shop today. So amongst the DVDs and PC games, we have a lot of Nintendo DS games, but also some boxed Game Boy Advance games. And I just never see these, especially in charity shops. I think just because they had the cardboard cases, they're a lot harder to find. I did check the price on these Nintendogs because they do trade in well to CEX. And strangely, the second Pippa Fernell game of this episode, these were both £5 each. So I did decide to pass on these, but let me know, would you have picked up these two boxed complete Game Boy Advance games for £5 each? Now, I've been a massive fan of the Fallout franchise since Fallout 3, and as soon as I saw this new Coca-Cola cup, I was intrigued. Now, this is official Bethesda merchandise, and I did and ah whether to pick this up, but I thought, do you know what? The time to pick things up is the time you see them. I think this was £5, but I did look on eBay and I couldn't find any listings for this, and because it was official Bethesda merchandise, I decided to pick it up. I'm a sucker for Fallout merch, and I just needed this for my collection. Final little bonus find here in Wymondham, and full disclaimer, this was in an antique shop, but how cool is this retro toy? They say they don't make them like they used to, but check this out. This is so retro cool. I absolutely love this. It wasn't really something which I needed for my collection, so I did leave it behind, but it just goes to show these retro toys are super cool. And speaking of retro toys, who remembers this board game, Busy Buzzy Bumbles. This game was really, really weird. I think it was like mid to late 90s. You like put a B on your head, but shout out in the comments if you remember this one. Next, we are carrying on our charity shop hunt at the seaside in Cromer. But first off, this retro shop which I've never visited before. And amongst the amazing CDs and vinyl in this store, they also had this incredible Star Trek leather jacket. This had a £100 price tag, but this was the definition of retro chic. And it turns out that if you are looking for vintage Levi's jeans, Cromer is the place to go. This is the first of two shops which has an amazing selection of vintage Levi's jeans, and these are the jeans I wear all of the time, and these were at an amazing, amazing price. But back to the charity shops, and my wife found these Looney Tunes plushies. These were brand new with the tags from the year 2000. Now, we're buying these for our own personal collection, but you can flip some of these plushies for really good money on eBay, especially if they're brand new with the tags. These were in absolutely amazing condition. I think we paid about £5 each for both of these, but they're just super duper cool. I love these retro inspired plushies, and I have a happy home with me. As well as the shop we saw earlier, Another Planet, Cromer also has a store called Beatniks, which once again is a fantastic place to buy retro clothing, especially Levi's jeans. Now, these can be super expensive on eBay, and honestly, you are best trying to find these in vintage stores or even charity shops. You can bag yourself an absolute bargain, and once again, I was very tempted to pick up some jeans in one of these stores. Back to the charity shops, and here is something you see all of the time: Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 games. But I do wonder, in the coming years, if we are going to see these less and less. I didn't need anything here for my collection because, honestly, this is how I've built the majority of my Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 collection over the years. Picking up games for 50p or £1 in charity shops to slowly build a collection over the years at a really cheap price. And honestly, for the money, this is the best way to buy for both of these consoles. As soon as I saw this out of the corner of my eye, I knew I had to grab it. This Sonic plushie. I think this was like £1.50, but honestly, just look at this thing. It is super cool, and at the speed Sonic goes, this isn't going to stick around on his charity shop shelves for very long, so I had to grab it while I could. Final find here in Cromer. We had some fairly decent Xbox 360 titles, but here is a problem I'm seeing quite often in charity shops these days. These were just a little bit overpriced, so I did pass on these ones. It's fair, as I understand they're trying to make as much money as possible, but sometimes it does mean these games and DVDs stick around on the shelves longer than they need to. Next up, we're hitting the first of two recycling centres which I'm lucky enough to have in my area, and one of the main advantages of these is most of the time all the video games they sell are just £1 each. And at first I was a bit like, there's just a lot of shovelware here, a lot of FIFA games, a lot of Kinect games, nothing really too interesting. And here's the thing, 90% of the time you may turn up and find absolutely nothing, but it's that 1 in 10 times when you luck out and you turn up at the absolute perfect time. And it was this time. I have shared this as a short here on my YouTube channel because this is one of my craziest charity shop finds of 2024. All of these games were just about to be put out on the shelf, and these were all £1 each. We are talking about some big titles here. Now, truth be told, some of these I pick up for the collection. Some of these I've already flipped into CEX for in-store credits, such as Mario Kart. But there was such a good selection of games here, like Guitar Hero games, really good Xbox 360 games, some decent Wii games, even a PlayStation 5 game, and all for £1 each. But sadly, it can't be all wins. This is one of my greatest losses recently at my local recycling centre. When I turned up, they just had this boxed, complete, minty looking PlayStation 2 console donated, but they cannot sell anything until it has been tested. I went back days and days in a row, and unfortunately I never saw this PlayStation 2 console on the shelf, so I guess somebody else bought it and it slipped through my grasp. But it's not all bad. I did manage to turn up at the perfect time and pick up a massive bundle of PlayStation 3 wrestling games. Now, I mainly bought these wrestling games for the Xbox 360, so there's quite a few titles which I needed for the PlayStation 3. And I think in years to come, some of these older wrestling games are going to get very hard to find, especially for the PlayStation 3. Now, these were all £2 each, but honestly, I'm happy to pay that much. I'd rather pay that in a charity shop than CX, so very happy to grab these ones. Like I said at the start of this video, sometimes you find your greatest finds in the most unlikely of places. Now, I have an old friend who works in a charity shop, but it's not the kind of charity shop you'd expect. This is actually a furniture shop. So this is the Benjamin Foundation Furniture Shop in Norwich. And he got in touch to say they had something fairly crazy donated, and some which they don't normally sell. So you can see here, they mainly sell furniture as well as TVs. And honestly, this is a fantastic place to pick up a TV if you're not looking for like the most up-to-date 4K TV. Say you're looking for a TV to plug your Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 in. Charity shops like this are a fantastic way to pick up a TV on a budget, and 99% of the time, this is the best these consoles are going to look. Especially if you get like an older Sony HD TV. These consoles look absolutely fantastic, or even storage for games or a TV stand. I've lost track of the number of times I've picked up furniture from places like this because honestly, it's better than a lot of this stuff going to landfill, and most of the time you can get this furniture, TVs, game storage at absolutely fantastic prices, so it's definitely worth checking out. For example, check out these two TVs right here. £20 for a TV with a built-in DVD player, or this model next to it was really nice for just £25. These are absolutely perfect for either a new TV for an Xbox 360 or a PlayStation 3, or for an extra TV specifically for these consoles. Check it out then, this Dreamcast bundle which was donated to the charity shop. Yes, the Dreamcast has seen better days. It is untested, it has no controller and it has no leads, but for me it's all about the games, including one of my favourite games of all time, Resident Evil 2. And it just goes to show, sometimes you find your greatest finds in the most unlikely of places. Now, let's take it back to the games room for the pickups. Here we are then, back in the games room from a selection of charity shops. And even though we didn't have many finds in the more traditional charity shops, in some of the more unexpected places we found some really cool items. And first off, we have a DVD which is Starship Troopers 2 Heroes of the Federation, and honestly I just wanted to pick this one up because I'm on a massive Helldivers 2 kick still, and I just wanted to relive this absolutely iconic trilogy of films. In the same charity shop we found this steelbook right here, Halo the Master Chief Collection. Now here's the thing, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you'll know I'm a massive collector of steelbooks, and normally I try and pick these up in CEX. Now I did pay £10 for this steelbook, and that's simply because this is a steelbook you do not see very often. Yes, I could have probably waited a very long while and found this one in CEX for maybe £8, the same price as the standard version of the game, but on eBay this one is going for a lot more money and is very rare to see, so when I saw this one I knew I had to grab it. I'm sure a lot of you folks watching know by now I'm a massive Fallout fan, so when I saw this Fallout Nuka-Cola cereal bowl and mug set, I knew I had to pick it up. Now this is official Bethesda merchandise, and here's the thing, with the crazy prices of Fallout merchandise at the moment, I knew it was worth taking a risk on this one. I cannot find any eBay listings sold or active for this one, so if you know anything about this, please let me know in the comments down below. Next up we have some plushies, and truth be told, these were picked up by my wife. Now these are brand new with the tags dated from the year 2000. Now these have been added to our collection and you'll see them in future videos sat behind me on the sofa. But if you are a reseller, do not sleep on these plushies, especially if they have the tags, as some of these can flip for some very decent profit. Using that logic, I knew I had to pick up this Sonic plushie right here. Now, interestingly, this is a UK amusement prize, not for general sale, but once again, this will be sat behind me on the sofa, so expect to see this little guy in future episodes. Next up, we have the first bundle of games from the first of 2 recycling centres in my area. Now recently I have scored at these recycling centres countless times, and 9 times out of 10 they charge £1 a game regardless of the game. And this is an absolutely incredible way to get some fantastic games at a cheap price. And this is our first bundle of games right here. So you'll notice in the video I did pick up some other games, some of which I have already traded into CEX for decent credit, but these are all games I've added to my collection. So first off we have Rayman Raving Rabbids 2 for the Nintendo Wii. Then a Wii U game. Yes, it's Just Dance 2017, but it is getting so hard to find Wii U games. When I find what I need, I grab it. Then we have Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock, which unfortunately is a bit of a failure as the disc is cracked. So remember kids, always check those discs. Then we have Hitman Blood Money for the Xbox 360 because I'm slowly filling those gaps in my Xbox 360 collection. Then a game I've never seen before, the BioShock and Oblivion Twin Pack. I love these kind of twin packs for the 360, so I knew I had to pick up this one. Then, cannot believe the price of this one, Green Day Rock Band for the Xbox 360. This is going to be a very, very expensive game in years to come, so very happy to pick up this one. And finally, I could not believe this, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 for PlayStation 5 for just £1. But that's not all. Also, from the other recycling centre in my area, I managed to pick up this stack of PlayStation 3 wrestling games. Now, I'm aiming for a complete WWE and WWF video game collection, and I wanted to fill the gaps in my PlayStation 3 library. So first off, we have TNA Impact. All of these games were £2, but honestly, these are getting harder to find, and the price of these is slowly creeping up. WWE Legends of WrestleMania. Then WWE 12, there's a lot of numbered games here to fill the gaps. WWE 2K14, WWE 2K15, especially with these later 2K games, they're getting harder to find. WWE 2K16 and WWE 2K17. Like I said, the price of these wrestling games is slowly sneaking up, and now is the time to fill those gaps in your PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 wrestling game collection. Finally, we have this selection of Dreamcast games which came from the most unlikely of places, the Benjamin Foundation Furniture Shop on Oak Street, Norwich. And this shows the importance of building relationships. It was an old friend who works at that charity shop who reached out to me and said they were donated these Dreamcast games. We came to an agreement on the price and I picked these up. And it just goes to show you never know on any day what can turn up in any charity shop, and it's always worth checking. Let's get into these Dreamcast games, and first off we have Tomb Raider The Last Revelation. Or is it Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Rogue Spear? I don't think this is how this game was traditionally packaged. I think somebody's just popped both these games in the same case, but I could be wrong, so if you know, let me know in the comments down below. Next up we have a game which I have never heard of before, Fighting Force 2. But this game is complete with the manual and looks kind of interesting, so let me know in the comments down below if you've played this one. Next up is a game which once again I haven't heard of, Pen Pen, which is a very confusing name for a game. It kind of looks a bit like a Mario Party style game. I could be totally wrong, but this is one I've never seen before. It seems fairly rare, so very happy to add this one to my Dreamcast collection. And finally, we have one of, if not my favourite game of all time, Resident Evil 2. And I'm super happy to add this to the Dreamcast specifically because now, to the best of my knowledge, I have every PAL release of Resident Evil 2. I have this released on the PlayStation 1, the N64, the GameCube, and now the Dreamcast. As one of my favourite games of all time, I wanted to have as many copies and as many ways to play this iconic game as possible, so I'm super happy to finally add the final piece of my Resident Evil 2 jigsaw to the collection, Resident Evil 2 for the Dreamcast. But that's not all. As well as those Dreamcast games, we did of course pick up this Dreamcast console. Now this thing is very yellowed, very unloved, and yes, it was untested as they had no leads. But first things first, it does have a bonus game, Disc 2 of Resident Evil Code Veronica. And like I said, this console was untested, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but this thing works. After years of gathering dust and yellowing, I cannot believe this console still works. And I think I owe this console a service. It has been unloved all of these years, and I'm going to bring it back to its former glory. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with it yet. I know it's working, but I'm thinking about modding it, maybe changing the case and just making this thing an absolute thing of beauty. So make sure you keep an eye in the future to find out what becomes of this Dreamcast console. There we have it then, folks. That was another episode of Charity Shop Hunting, and I hope it goes to show the finds are still out there. You just need to know where to look, and sometimes it's worth looking in the most unlikely of places. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and until next time, keep playing the game. See y'all soon.